Welcome back, everyone. It's Eric from Rare Candy here. Today we are back with the top 4 match of the recent League Cup I got to go attend at Cape Fear Games in Wilmington, North Carolina. So we already did post a top 8 match. If you guys do want to see that, I will have a link somewhere, both in the description of this video and probably up there in the top right hand corner as well. So definitely go check that out if you've not already done so. But today, like I said, we do have the top 4 match, and in this matchup we have Grant Manley. He's going to be playing over there on the left, playing just good old-fashioned Malamar, and then over on the right we have Colin Yarbrough, who is playing Lucario Melmetal GX. So this should be an interesting match, but I feel like on paper the Lucario Melmetal deck should be favored just because it has a lot of damage reduction, a lot of healing. You know, these Giratinas are going to have to like 3-shot this thing in a lot of instances, so I feel like initially that would be my knee-jerk reaction. Here Grant is opening up with a Garchomp Giratina. That's definitely one of his worst starters in the deck. Ideally he wants that to be kind of like a just kind of a finisher and throw it down unexpectedly whenever he wants to take like a big one-hit knockout. So the fact that he's starting with this, honestly, probably not what he likes to see. But of course the Garchomp Giratina is going to be pretty good against these Lucario Melmetals. So of course it can snipe 40, but also its main attack, I believe it's Calamitous Slash if I remember correctly. It's going to do a lot more damage if it does have some damage counters on its opponent already. So he will be able to ideally take like a big one-hit knockout on like a Lucario Melmetal at some point. So here it looks like he's starting to like go all in on this Garchomp Giratina. You know, Grant's probably thinking, well, had to start this thing, so we may as well start making some use of it. And here he's going to, looks like, discard a Latios GX. Kind of an interesting card to get rid of. I feel like on paper that seems like it would be a pretty good card in this matchup, just because it can, shut off damage from your opponent's tag teams. So Grant does play, I believe, Alana's Fishing Rod, if I remember correctly. So he will have the option to get that back if he does want to. But that does seem like a decent attacker here at some point. So here Colin looks like he is able to get the fully powered like Lucario Melmetal up running on turn 1. And oh, okay, it looks like he's actually going for the first attack Steel Fist. So typically this would be a turn where Colin would want to actually use Lucario Melmetal's GX attack. It would discard the energy off this Garchomp Giratina and also reduce damage to it by 30 for the rest of the game. But maybe his hand's just really bad if he's going in with the Steel Fist. That just seems a little bit awkward to me. I feel like you would typically want to prioritize the damage reduction here. So let's see. Grant's getting set pretty decently. He has Malamar. He's getting another Inkay down as well. So let's see what he's going to be going with. And it looks like he's just going to hit this this Lucario Melmetal for 40. So maybe we're going to see him go for the GX attack this turn. I feel like discarding 2 energies off of this thing is pretty decent. That would force Grant to have a variety of switching cards if he does want to get around that. So it looks like he is playing a greens, grabbing a greens and a tag call. So of course tag call is going to allow him to get 2 tag team cards out of his deck. So maybe another Lucario Melmetal and maybe a Cynthia and Caitlin. That looks like what he's eyeing himself down. So Cynthia and Caitlin, especially if he doesn't have a way to draw cards on the next turn, that can be pretty nice. That can allow him to get back a welder potentially and also see some cards in the process. But we'll have to see what route Colin is going to go here. He doesn't have an energy in hand from what I can tell, so he might have to burn. Okay, he is going to discard a welder. You'll search an energy out of his deck with that Viridian Forest that Grant had put into play. So I'm going to imagine, especially if he's attaching to this bench Lucario Melmetal, this is a turn he's going to go for the GX attack, just because that GX attack is just so impactful. That 30 reduction for the rest of the game. Yeah, and that is what we are going to see here. And so it's definitely still possible for Grant to get in and attack on this thing, but he's going to need a pretty big combination of cards if he wants to get the fully powered Calamitous Slash off on this Lucario Melmetal. Another option he could go with is the GX attack at some point. And here Grant does have a switch, and he's going to grab an Acrobike off of that Jirachi. Hard to follow some of Grant's plays sometimes. Grant's definitely one of the fastest players I've played against. But he is going to grab this Acrobike here. And looks like he's going to discard a Giratina. Definitely what he likes to see. That way he can get it back out of the discard pile with that Distortion Door ability at some point if he chooses to. So it looks like he's debating getting rid of a Viridian Forest. So he's going to use his Viridian Forest to discard an additional one, grabbing a Psychic Energy out of his deck here. So he is going to be able to get some energy from discard, powering up this Garchomp Giratina, but does he have another switching method? That's the one thing he is missing, I believe. And if that's the case, you know, I think Colin will definitely be happy about that. He definitely wants to, you know, buy himself some time here. And here it looks like he is going to just Psychic Recharge, you know, use that ability on Malamar to get this thing powered up and just say, you know what? I'm going to pass this turn, but next turn, this Garchomp Giratina is like staring you in the face here. So what is Colin going to do in response to this? I would like to see him actually heal off this damage if possible. And we see in his deck he does play the Mixed Herbs. I forget if he plays Great Potion or not as well, but Mixed Herbs definitely can be good. Just because the Garchomp Giratina only gets the bonus damage whenever its opponent has damage already on it. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. It looks like he's eyeing himself down a greens and a custom catcher. So he must already have a custom catcher in hand if that is the case, I would imagine. He might just be thinking about bringing up this Garchomp Giratina just to get in like the first hit in on it, potentially. But we also could see him potentially bring up Malamar. But here he's just going to knock out the Jirachi. Or I would have liked to see a Metal Frying Pan as well, assuming he plays that in his list. That would have been another good card to get down. So right now, this Lucario Melmetal is sitting at, 220 HP right now. After you factor in the GX attack, Grant effectively has to do, 250? So he can hit 240 with this thing, but after the 30 reduction from the GX attack, he's going to be a little bit short if my math is correct. So you're going to see Grant get down another Inkay here as well. So another thing we could actually see is Grant go for the GX attack, just discarding this fully powered up Lucario Melmetal from play. Since that is Colin's big threat right now, that does seem like kind of a decent option. So looks like Grant is powering up this Giratina here. And so, yeah, he is just going to go for the GX attack, just saying, you know what, that's like really the only threat right now. Let's just get that out of play. And I feel like we can deal with this one last Lucario Melmetal here. And it already has the damage counter on it from the Distortion Door as well. So Grant is definitely liking, I think, the spot that he's going to be in here. So no doubt Colin is going to find himself in energy. So here he is going to get... He's going to discard another Welder and get a Fire Energy out of his deck. So this will allow him to use that Steel Fist attack to get an energy out of his deck as well, while dealing 50 damage in the process. The only awkward thing about that is that you're still not even knocking out this Garchomp Giratina with the second attack, Heavy Impact, I believe is the name of the attack. I forgot off the top of my head. He's going to be 20 damage shy of knocking out on the following turn as well. So this Garchomp Giratina is actually kind of a pain. You know, normally Grant would hate to start with it, but it's actually been kind of holding its own here. So we're going to see a Welder from Colin here, getting down a Metal Energy, and we'll probably still see a Steel Fist afterwards here. And yeah, that looks like what he is going to do. Getting down a Metal Energy on this thing. So here Grant's just going to go for a Cynthia. So we'll have to see what route he's going to go. If he does find a switch, I mean, it's not that he could theoretically switch in his Giratina and force Colin to go through that first. But I mean, even if he just attacks with this Garchomp Giratina, it's fine, because I don't believe Colin plays any different damage modifiers to get the 20 extra damage needed to knock out this thing. So right now, Grant's actually looking to be in a pretty good spot. So maybe what I said was initially pretty wrong. I feel like on paper, the Lucario Melmetal deck seems like it would be better positioned against the Malamar deck, but it's not really unfolding in that way this game, at least. So let's see from there what route Grant might want to go. I mean, he already has attackers pretty much powered up, but here he's just going to go for the Calamitous Slash. And so now this Lucario Melmetal is on the brink of death here, unfortunately. So here we are going to see a power plant getting rid of that Viridian Forest from play. But what does he do? That's really the question. He almost needs to strand a Malamar active or something just to buy him some time to kind of heal this Lucario Melmetal back down. I feel like that might be one of his outs here. So he's just taking a peek through his deck. We do see some mixed herbs. So if he already has a custom catcher in hand, I think that's the route I want to go. I want to see him bring up a Malamar here and, you know, just kind of heal behind that if possible. So here we see a Metal Frying Pan and a mixed herb. So hopefully he already has one set of mixed herbs. So if he can, okay, yeah, he does. So that is going to allow him to heal down a good bit. So if he can do that and just custom catcher up something else to buy himself a turn, that doesn't seem awful in this instance. But right now, this Garchomp Guillotine is threatening the KO on this Lucario Melmetal. And here he does have the custom catchers. So it's just a matter of what is he going to bring up. And it looks like they're discussing something, maybe just the damage that Colin healed. Looks like they have some sort of disagreement or something here. Okay, I guess they're just correcting this damage. But anyways, yeah, from here, I mean, he just has to, yeah, I think his only play is really just to custom catcher up something. But it looks like they're still talking about something. Maybe they're just talking about the state of the game here as well. Just trying to figure out if Colin has a way out. And here we do see the custom catcher. So, no, I feel like Colin's playing to his outs this turn. You know, he just needs to survive a little bit to start to stabilize. Oh, and here Grant top decks the switch, and he can just knock out this Lucario Melmetal for the game. So, pretty convincing win from Grant. He only took one knockout this entire game, but, you know, Colin didn't have much beyond that. So, yeah, that really didn't go Colin's way in this instance, but luckily for him, it is a best 2 out of 3 series, so he definitely has a chance to bring it back and still win this series overall. You know, luckily for him, even though he's playing against a single prize deck, Grant's a pretty fast player, so hopefully they won't have to worry about their games going to time or anything like that. So, we'll have to see how this one is going to unfold in this situation. And here, I believe he did get to start with Lucario Melmetal, so that is definitely going to be his ideal starter here. And so he has a Metal Energy. I see a greens. Okay, so maybe we could see him, since he does have the rare candy in hand. I think there is a world where he goes for Unidentified Fossil and a greens for next turn to threaten the Amistar play. I think that could be pretty good. So here he's just taking a peek through his deck initially just to see what all he wants to do. He might even be looking for a way just to find energy in his deck. That's going to be another thing he's going to want to be looking for, since he only has the one in hand. But I do kind of like the idea of the Unidentified Fossil play, and it looks like that is what he's going to be eyeing down. Going to be eyeing himself down, a greens and Unidentified Fossil. So we didn't see it last game, but he does play the 101 Amistar line. Amistar is definitely going to be pretty good in this matchup, especially if he can find it and establish it very early on. So as long as Colin has fewer Pokemon in play than Grant is going to be item locked. And like I said, he has the rare candy in hand, so next turn he is threatening the item lock with that greens that he has in hand. So Grant, no doubt, is going to want to make the most use of his items, you know, while he still is going to have access to them. Ideally, he wants to find himself, I think, like a Jirachi within a skateboard, or really just anything within a skateboard. So here he is playing 2 treasures and a communication. So luckily he does have access to a decent amount of his items here to help get set up before this item lock really kicks in. If Grant had had a really slow start here and got item lock before he could really get much going, then we could have seen, you know, something a little bit scarier. Oh, Grant does not have a supporter though, so maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe Yeah, that's definitely pretty rough here. So Colin is going to go for the greens, no doubt. He's going to want to capitalize on this bad start that Grant's having and just get out this Amistar as quick as possible, especially since he doesn't have an escape board on Jirachi. That in particular is really important. So here he's going to go for communication, and the tag call will be able to find himself a Pokemon and also another supporter if he wants to as well. So it looks like he's got himself down Cynthia and Caitlin and the Lucario Melmetal, but we'll probably just see him communicate. Yeah, he's going to just put that tag team right back in deck, grabbing Amistar. And yeah, here's where things get a little bit interesting this game. So you can just go Rare Candy Amistar. And now Grant's in definitely a little bit of an awkward position. We're going to see Power Plant and looks like a Steel Fist. So, you know, Colin's wasting no time with the GX attack or anything like that. He's just going all in, trying to put on pressure, you know, while Grant doesn't have too much going on. I think, you know, maybe I would have preferred to see the GX attack just because this Blacephalon would not have been able to attack had he gone that route. So I think I would have rather have seen Colin just be a little bit patient in that regard. And now Grant's actually able to retreat into Jirachi as well, so... And here he is going to find himself a Lily. So, yeah, I think I would have preferred to see the GX attack there just because, you know, Grant wouldn't have been able to really do anything other than just get an energy into play. So here he is going to refill his hand. I don't really see too much to work with. We could see him... Well, no, we can't even attach because he already attached to Retreat with Cephalon. We might see a pass after that. I mean, luckily, Grant was able to find some cards in the process, but... Yeah, it's definitely not a very good hand for him. So he does have a Cynthia and Caitlin, so we'll see him discard. Looks like a Metal Frying Pan to get a Greens back. Greens, however, really not going to be too good right now just because getting the Amistar in play does turn off your Greens. But, you know, in this type of case, it really doesn't even hurt too much just because this lock is so oppressive right now. And this Lucario Melmetal with the Frying Pan is pretty tanky and putting on a good bit of pressure. So it looks like Colin's grabbing himself another Lucario Melmetal and a Mallow and Lana, it appears. So I definitely want to see him hang on to that Lucario Melmetal. Yeah, because he needs to keep his bench smaller than Grant's. But now Grant does have access to his items since he has the same amount of bench Pokemon as Colin does. So if you're tied on Pokemon, your opponent gets their item cards. You have to have fewer Pokemon in play. So here Grant is going to discard that Giratina, grabbing a Psychic Energy. He can also, looks like he has, yeah, he has a Communication, going for Jirachi. He has the Escape Board in hand as well, so he can get that down. And so Grant will probably be able to start stabilizing a little bit this turn, but he's still just kind of in an awkward spot right now overall. Oh, and he has Switch, I like that, so he can... So if he has a Skateboard and Switch, I almost kind of like to see him switch into the Jirachi and give him the flexibility of retreating with the Escape Board into something else. So let's see there. We see a Mysterious Treasure. I don't think we saw any supporters in those cards off the Stellar Wish there. So while Grant was, you know, pretty much firing off on all cylinders last game, this game he's definitely struggling a little bit more. And here just passing over to Colin here. See, so it looks like Colin's going to discard that Greens. You know, kind of says, don't really need these anymore. Amistar is not going anywhere anytime soon, so we're just going to discard this thing, thin a Fire Energy out of deck, and that way he can potentially start setting up another Lucario Melmetal. But the only issue with that is if he benches it, he's really allowing Grant an opportunity to use his items here. I mean, nevertheless, Colin's definitely in a good spot, don't get me wrong here. But the Amistar is partially so good because it turns off your opponent's items. But I guess technically either way in this particular situation, they would have been tied on prizes, or I'm sorry, tied on bench Pokemon. So I guess either way in this situation, Grant still would have had access to his items. Here we're going to see a Mysterious Treasure, grabbing a Malamar here. Okay, actually going for Garchomp and Giratina, interesting. So I'll have to see what he's going to do with that. He's just going to retreat into Jirachi, and he does finally find a draw supporter. He's going to be ecstatic to see that, I would assume here. Alrighty, so we're going to see a Lily from Grant. So we might just see him bench the Tina Chomp with a fighting energy. And just hunt for a Malamar to get this Blacephalon powered up. That's definitely an option. But here, yeah, he's just going to bench the Tina Chomp powered up. He's going to get another Inkay in his hand as well. But here, he's like purposely like hanging on to some of these Pokemon just because he wants to give himself the option of being able to use his abilities if need be. And so on this next turn, after Colin takes a knockout, he can actually get full effect out of this Blacephalon that he has and be able to spread 12 damage counters with it. But here Colin has a tag call, so he's probably going to grab Cynthia and Caitlin, and looks like, I think, another Lucario and Melmetal, if I'm seeing correctly here. And he's going to discard Fiery Flint to get probably a Metal Energy out of deck, I would assume. Oh, we're going for a Fire Energy. Interesting. So maybe he has some Metal Energies prized if that is the situation here. That's definitely not great, but... So here, Colin's going to... Looks like play Cynthia Caitlin. I would assume getting back a Welder and then drawing 3 cards in the process. So I believe Colin also does play Mount Coronet, so once this active Lucario Melmetal does go down, he will have a way to get another Metal Energy down, but... Oh, and he did draw one off the prize, so that's definitely good for him in this case. So let's see what Grant's going to do in this situation. He's definitely on the back foot here. He hasn't really been able to put on too much pressure. So right now, he does have access to that Blacephalon to fully power it up. Just because normally it only spreads 4 damage counters, but if your opponent has 3 prizes, you get to spread 12 damage counters any way that you like. So we'll have to see what route he's going to go. He could opt to attempt to target down the Amistar here, especially if he finds himself a spell tag. Well, actually, he can't even get the spell tag down now just because he did bench that Inkay. But if he had targeted on the Amistar, spell tag could have picked it off. But at the same time, like knocking out Amistar really doesn't get you any closer to winning the game necessarily, just because you still have to knock out 2 tag teams regardless. And here he does have spell tag, and this would be a situation it would be good to have the spell tag, but here he is going to use that distortion door ability, getting some damage down on these bench Pokemon. And here, okay, he is going to actually knock out the Amistar. I did forget about the distortion door. I forgot he put the guillotine in there earlier, so the Amistar only has 130 HP, so that thing is going to be cleared from play at this point, and Grant's going to have access to his items yet again. But we'll just have to see if it's too little too late at this point. Since, you know, Colin's already going to be down at 2 prizes before Grant really is able to start putting his first bit of pressure on these tag teams that Colin's kind of been amassing over here. So it looks like Colin is going to go for a reset stamp and play a Lucamine, getting back 2 greens it looks like. So now that Amistar's gone, he's like, you know what? I kind of want my greens back at this point. It's a really good card when Amistar's not in play. And so from there, we'll probably just see him take a knockout, do 150 with this Lucario Melmetal. Here, Grant's just going to promote the Tina Chomp in this instance, getting rid of Mimikyu, grabbing himself a Psychic Energy. Mimikyu really not too good against this deck since Colin doesn't have any Pokemon or any Pokemon GX with abilities. So Grant's coming back from that reset stamp pretty decently. So we'll have to see what route is he going to go. Is he going to use the GX attack here? Or is he going to just swing on this Lucario Melmetal? I think that it remains to be seen what route he wants to go. And another thing, Colin still hasn't used his GX attack, but here he is going to GX away the Lucario Melmetal. And so Colin's going to go for greens. Looks like he is going to grab potentially a Mount Coronet. I saw him eyeing that there for a second ago. Okay. And okay, it looks like Grant's just going to scoop it up. He's like, you know what? That's fine. He was probably banking on Colin not having any more Metal Energy since whenever he Viridian that one turn grabbed a Fire. So Grant was probably like, okay, if he's out of Metal Energy, then we're in a good spot. But if not, we're just going to go to game 3. So Grant's probably just trying to conserve some time here and ensure they have enough time to close out a best of 3 series here. So the series is going to be tied up now. Grant getting to go first definitely is going to be big, especially since he saw that Colin does play the Amistar line. he will have at least 2 turns of his items before he has to worry about that coming into play. So we're going to see a Stellar Wish from Grant here. Looks like he's going to grab a Viridian. Now, unfortunately, his hand, it looks like... I can't tell if there's actually a supporter there. Okay, he's going to get down 2 Inkays. That's a good start for him, definitely. So it looks like he's debating what he wants to discard. I believe he's discarding a Viridian Forest here. And he's also going to discard the Giratina with his Viridian Forest to get Psychic Energy. So this is a pretty good little first turn. Despite not having a draw supporter, Grant's able to kind of set up pretty decently here. And just a pass over to Colin. So yeah, even though he didn't have a draw supporter, he found all the major pieces that he really wants on a first turn with Malamar. So he's like, you know what, it's fine. We're just going to try again for supporter next turn with this Jirachi, and you know, we'll be in good shape. So your Collins go for a tag call, grabbing looks like 2 Lucario Melmetals. I'd imagine we'll probably see him play that Energy Spinner as well, if I just had to guess, since he is going second. But let's see what he's going to greens for. We could see him go the unidentified fossil route if he does want to do that again. So kind of a shame he did not have the welder for the first turn. Now, I think I would have liked to have seen him use Metal Frying Pan. That is something I think I would have rather seen him set up potentially. But here's going to discard the reset stamp to get a Metal Energy. Interesting. I thought he had Energy Spinner in hand. If that's the case, I definitely want to see Colin play that, just because it'll allow him to search his deck for 3 different basic energies, put him into his hands. That seems really odd if he... Yeah, I find that to be very, very strange. I'm just trying to think what his reason for leaving them in deck is, especially because Energy Spinner is very good on the second turn of the game in particular. I'm sorry, the first turn of the game if you're going second. So yeah, I'm really confused by that turn that Colin just had there. So anyways, we'll have to see what Grant is going to do over here. We'll see him get down in a skateboard, and he finally finds a draw supporter here. So he's going to evolve into Malamar, play a Cynthia. So no doubt he wants to get this Giratina powered up, ideally with the spell tag as well, and start putting on pressure to at least one of these tag teams. Okay, I believe I see a skateboard, spell tag. Looks like he's going to discard Jirachi with Viridian, grab himself a Psychic Energy in the process. I forget if he has any energy already in discard, but if not, of course, he might not be able to get an attack off this turn. And he's going to get down in a skateboard just in preparation of a potential Amistar, and then just a pass. So he's not able to get the the second turn attack, but I mean, his board still looks pretty good. He's pretty stable here. Like, I feel like the Amistar almost doesn't really hurt that much at this point, because he already has his spell tags and his skateboards down. But he's already committed to the unidentified fossil, so he may as well just like kind of go in with it. So he is going to communicate a Lucario Melmetal back into his deck here to grab the Amistar in the process. And going for a switch. And it looks like he's going to go for a Steel Fist. I'm really not a big fan of this. I mean, I guess it's okay just because he doesn't have... This will allow him to attack next turn, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, especially since Colin doesn't have like an actual draw supporter, I really would have liked him to have thinned his deck out a little bit more. Again, I really wish he would have played that Energy Spinner on his last turn, or the Fiery Flint this turn, to thin some cards out of his deck and make it so he can more easily draw into a supporter. Or at the very least, if he was going to greens, I think I would have rather have seen him grab a way to draw cards on future turns, just because just going for the item lock, I don't think is actually that strong in this particular case here. So let's see what he's going to do here in this instance. He has a Fiery Flint, Energy Spinner, and a Metal Energy. It looks like he's starting to power up this Megalopping Jigglypuff, but here he's going to go for the GX attack. So that will buy himself a turn just because Grant will not be able to play Switch or something like that. So that is definitely nice. That will buy him some time. I actually think I kind of want to see him maybe just go for a Steel Fist after this turn potentially as well. Just because I kind of want to see him just take some time to get set up and draw into a way to draw cards here. So he's just going to attach and probably just threaten an attack. But again, I really don't want to see him take the knockout here. Yeah, just really not a big fan. I think I would have rather have seen him maybe get an energy down on the Megalopping Jigglypuff while using Steel Fist. Like, I would have rather forced Grant to commit 2 energy to the active here, and when he's threatening the attack on for the third energy, that's when you take your knockout. And that would give you some time to draw into a supporter, or, you know, give you a better chance of drawing into a supporter than what you're stuck with now. And again, I really wish Colin was playing some of those cards in his hand, like the Energy Spinner, the Fiery Flint, etc., the thin cards out of his deck here. And I think Grant actually has the knockout here as well, just because he has the Garchomp Giratina and has the Malamars here. The Lucario Melmetal is already pretty heavily damaged, so right now it looks like it has 110 on it, but if Grant used Shadow Impact, it should have 130. Or maybe there's a die on it that I can't really tell, but either way, I think this this should be a knockout. And at this point, I think it's like almost a wrap. This is, I think, another reason he shouldn't have gone for the attack here, because now that opened him up to getting return KO'd without having the time to have set up a response. So here he is going to discard an Energy Spinner with the Viridian Forest. Interesting. So here he's going to get a Metal Energy out of deck. And yeah, I just think he's in kind of a bad spot right now. This Giratina can come back into play, getting a damage counter down on the Lucario Melmetal. So that's definitely not going to be good for him as well. And oddly enough, you know, I feel like Latios GX would be one of the better attackers in this matchup, but Grant hasn't even had to use it this entire series so far. So he's going to discard that Mew with his Viridian Forest, it appears, grabbing a Psychic Energy. And I would imagine we'll probably see him start to power up a Giratina on the bench. That way he can also get that damage counter preemptively down on the Lucario Melmetal. But here it looks like he's going to just knock out the Amistar. And interesting, kind of surprised that Grant did not go for the Giratina, actually. Maybe I'm missing some. That seems like it might have been a little bit of a misplay, just because he did have it in this card. And I think getting down that extra damage counter is kind of relevant here. So here, Colin is starting to thin some cards out of his deck, and here he's just going to go for a Steel Fist, but... Oh, but he has the Great Catcher. He can just pull up the Megalopping Jigglypuff, and that can be the game. So that's probably why he wasn't too concerned about the extra damage counter there. So, yep. Grant is ultimately going to take the series against the Lucario and Melmetal deck, advancing on to the finals. Like I did mention, guys, we did also upload a top 8 match. If you didn't see that, go check that out. And of course, we will have the finals match being uploaded as well. I'll have links down below in the description to all of the different matches in case you guys haven't seen them yet. But if you guys did enjoy this content today, of course, feel free to like and subscribe, and consider supporting this channel as well by becoming a patron at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, or by picking up some merch from our online store, rarecandytcg.com. It would mean a lot. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.